Hello dear humans, welcome to my channel, and in today's video we're gonna review The Greatness Mindset by Lewis Howes. Honestly, this book is a gem, guys. It's worth every dollar I paid for it. It wasn't that expensive. I paid 35.99 Canadian. I want to walk you through what this book did for me, how it impacted me, and a little bit about the book in a grand scheme, but mostly how it changed my life and how the tools I found there have allowed me to come up with plans, to overcome barriers, to meet myself in levels that I did not expect. Anyways, let's dive in. For the ones that don't know, Lewis Howes is the host of The School of Greatness, which is an amazing podcast. I've been listening to him since 2020, but essentially this guy brings a lot of experts in a lot of domains and asks questions, and his questions tend to be always in the mindset of how to teach people how to achieve greatness. When he presented it in his podcast, he was saying, this is the book I wish someone had written for me when I was in my 20s and then in my 30s. And I was wondering, how can a book be so specific for your 20s, then your 30s, then your 40s? And like, after reading it, I could read this book in every stage of my life and it'll help me at every time. What he does is he starts by laying the foundation. In the foundation, he creates an assessment to know where you are, to identify your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. Because, like he says, the identity is who do you think you are? And who do you think you are has certain patterns of thoughts, and those thoughts become emotions, and those emotions become behaviors, and that's how you build habits, and habits determine your future. In a grand scheme, of course, go read it. You'll have tons of information in more detail. But basically, this is it. Then after the foundation, he talks about the barriers. And in this chapter, I deep dive into myself. And honestly, I did not know I had a fear of success. Fear of failure, yes, of course. Fear of judgment, yes, of course. But fear of success? The cool thing about every chapter is he will give you tools, ask you questions, give you exercises. And this was the little book that I did with him, and honestly, like, it's crazy how much writing I did. But every time I will write an answer to these questions, I will get to discover things about myself. Not only he explains concepts and how those affect your life and your psyche and how they affect how you move around the world, but he also gives you great tools to change those. So I think if you actually read it and you do the exercises, and honestly it took me quite a while, but because I was being very conscious with my answers and taking my time, sometimes I will be stuck in certain exercises. It's a great tool to know and assess what do you think about yourself in a deeper level. Then after that, the barriers comes the mindset of greatness. He talks about how to heal your past, and here too he gives a lot of exercises to like go back to the things that hurt you, go back to the things that are a trauma for you, and he explains many concepts around this topic. I've been working on myself and going through therapy for quite a while, so like I am aware of most of them, but it did help me work through the ones that I already knew. Then you find your identity. Because basically every time you create changes and that you are following a new path, a new career, a new relationship, whatever it is, there is a shift in your identity. I used to believe that I was who I was, period. And the more I work on myself and the more I do stuff like I did in this book, the more I realize that it's up to me. I can't change what happened to me, but I can definitely change the emotion around it. I can definitely change the way I view it. So that's part of the healing journey. And the fourth part, and in my favorite, which is the one that I have more fresh because it's the one that I did in the past 2 weeks, is the game plan. And the cool part about the game plan, it's like a tool to create that future self you want to be. And in this part, you basically use that meaningful mission to start asking courageous questions about yourself, about where you want to go, about who do you want to be. After that, you give yourself permission. And that is something I knew the concept, but I don't think I was able to grasp it to the extent I did it with this book. This idea of giving yourself permission to not be perfect, giving yourself permission to suck at something while you learn, which is something I struggle a lot with. Accept the challenge, because with trying to be great and trying to do something great, some days are gonna be great, that some others are gonna suck, but you know that is part of the challenge and it's part of the journey. After that, you define your greatness goals. When you plan ahead, you move your pieces around to make sure you're gonna be there. And then enlist support. The people you surround yourself define a lot of who you become. So enlisting support and like having mentors, having people around you that know what's your plan and that are gonna keep you accountable, it's super important. 2 points. Get stuff done, which is basically, I love the way he does it, because he asks, what can you do in the next 3 days? What can you do in the next week? And what can you do in the next 30 days? Based on your goals that you have defined before. It kind of pushed me to do this, and I promised myself I was gonna put 2 videos weekly. So here I am. And finally, celebrate that you are enough. So I've been working a lot on like knowing that I'm enough, understanding it, that I don't need to be anything else. I am who I am and I am enough. When I got to that last chapter and I read that, and it's like, you are enough. You don't need to be anything. You don't need to own anything. You are enough for existing. It was a perfect way to end this book. I honestly thank you so much. If you ever see this Lewis Howes, you've changed my life in so many ways. You've been in my ears in 2020, and when I started making changes in my life, lots of the books and the people I follow now has been because of you. So thank you so much. And if you don't know this guy, please go listen to his podcast, The School of Greatness. This was it. I hope it was not too boring. And I will get better at this, I promise. In the meantime, don't forget, good or bad, this too shall pass. Oh yeah, and follow, comment, and subscribe.